In this video, I'm sketching out one way Games Workshop could make the human aesthetic interesting in Age of Sigmar. Pantaloons, right? Brightly colored, big, puffy pantaloons. Few people would have thought that we would see pantaloons in Age of Sigmar. I think those are really some of the units that a lot of people thought would be on the chopping block, probably not make it into the game, but they have, right? Here they are, one of the main standing armies for cities of Sigmar. Now let's face it, right? The old Roman Empire aesthetic doesn't have a solid place in the craziness of the mortal realms. Compared to the extraordinary creatures inhabiting the mortal realms, humans simply are too plain and uninteresting. They are quite simply human, all too human. And naturally, we cannot escape the overarching perspective. That is, it is we who are observing the events, right? The events, creatures, and the setting seem strange only because they are compared to the familiar. And that balance must be maintained to some extent within the game's narrative. But doing so without just a little hint of spice and uniqueness presents the problem. Right? How do you make regular, basic humans interesting in this game? How do you make this plain, boring human unique and special amongst all the new kits and outlandish armies that now characterize Age of Sigmar? Clearly, the existing kits eventually will be replaced with something new. Would a simple resculpt fit that niche? I don't think so. I don't want to just see, the same types of spearmen, the same types of outriders, but with regular clothing. I think we need something that is quite extraordinarily different. In my opinion, the old Warhammer Fantasy Freeguild humans don't quite cut it, right? This is no longer the old world. And it takes more than a change in paint scheme to make them kind of believable, right? That human Freeguild should be among the primary defenses for a city predominantly inhabited by scourge privateers. Right? Well, what are they doing there? What purpose is this army actually doing? Now, some people have done some really cool conversions to make their army unique and different. But that cannot be kind of a universal expectation for every hobbyist. Now, I don't know what Games Workshop has planned for future human releases, but in many of the novels and stories, you see humans from a wide range of cultures and aesthetics. I want that concept reflected in the models of Age of Sigmar. These are kind of no longer soldiers from human history, armed with pikes and halberds. These are humans from desert kingdoms, cloaked in animal skins, and wielding strange exotic weaponry. Right? Still relatable, but different. And that is precisely what's needed here. Human factions that are varied and based upon multiple aesthetics that reflect the various realms and the multitude of races that inhabit them. But I think we also need to have realistic expectations. I don't expect GW to invest in several unique different armies for humans, for Freeguild. And when I'm thinking about this topic, I want to look at some of the other examples. And 40K has already tackled this exact question, but with some very mixed success. Regiments of the Astra Militarum are individually based on the unique culture and environment of different planets. And in many ways, this is no different than how the free Theades of Sigmar are situated in different realms, each with a spectrum of different environments, geography, and culture. Right? In 40k, there are the Valhallan Ice Warriors, the Toleron Desert Raiders, the Armageddon Steel Legion, the Avoistroyan Firstborn, and many others. Right? Each is different and distinct. Now, I do think this is a potential model for the diversity and aesthetics, but 40k inadvertently created another problem. Right? There have been many different regiments over the years, and yet currently only the Cadians are supported to any extensive degree. There are a couple others, but they're fairly limited. Many of the other regiments have now slipped away into relative obscurity, and we're left, ironically, with what is perhaps the most plain and vanilla version of humans in 40k. Now, I'm purely speculating, but it is likely that the range was too big to be sustained. Right? Multiple aesthetics for what is essentially one faction simply takes up too much retail space. And I think we can safely assume that the sales didn't justify their continued existence. Okay. So I think we need something new and different. We need new kits. But I do not want to see a resculpt of the classic human spearmen. Nor do I think that it should have the same overarching perspective across the entire faction. Nor do I think they should produce multiple distinct armies of Freeguild. So in my opinion, there's really one possible solution here. Now, Games Workshop should take inspiration from and kind of draw upon the classic concept of dogs of war. The dogs of war were mercenary units in Warhammer Fantasy that could be added to the roster of any army. They included units like Rico's Republican Guard, Volan's Venators, the Slave Pirates, the Manflayers, and the Al-Qatani Pikemen, among others. Each unit had distinct rules, a specific role, and an unmistakable aesthetic. Some of these units were still drawing inspiration from human history, but there were also regiments of orcs, dark elves, and dwarves, all willing to fight for the right cause and the right amount of coin. So I don't want this precise system. I don't view Freeguild purely as a mercenary force. They are dedicated to defending the free cities. But I want something similar that channels the best strengths of this concept. I think the units could be predominantly human, but I'm not opposed to adding in some of the existing races or mixing in a variety of new races within the same unit. Right? A true coalition of order, and very much a response to the mixed units that we already see in Chaos Warbands, like the Spire Guard or Iron Golems. If I could anticipate, GW was making 7 to 8 new units of Freeguild, it's not completely crazy to believe that that's possible at some point. I mean, they're just putting out that many for Slaanesh mortals. So why not regular humans? And if they were to do that, to replace the existing kits, it would be interesting if each and every one of those units had a completely different play style or aesthetic. At the very least, perhaps 2 or 3 different aesthetics across the same number of units. If they were to produce, say, 9 kits, 3 different distinct looks and play styles. Imagine for a moment if specific units of Freeguild could gain different keywords or have kind of a unique role in a variety of different armies. Really solid units that are kind of universal anvils or hammers, or with a set of independent or interchangeable universal buffs and debuffs. This type of army might not be too cohesive as a standalone force, but I think you would quickly see Freeguild units become the premier allies of choice. And visually, that seems right to me. Variety would solve the problem. Now, perhaps in an ideal world, each unique aesthetic could be further flushed out into a larger force. But I think we should be wary about following the regimental example of 40k. I just don't think that is to be expected or sustainable. So I'm not sure. I don't have a glass ball here. To some extent, I would just be surprised if they just pushed standard resculpts of the existing kits. I just don't think that is quite what we're looking for in terms of a match for the new realities of Age of Sigmar. In either case, I'm very interested in what you think. Are the regular Freeguild units fine? If not, what do you think would be interesting in a unique way in which you could reinvent humans in Age of Sigmar? I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. Please consider supporting the channel by commenting on the video, hitting that little like button, and subscribing for more Warhammer content.